Okay, first I'd like to clarify something. Last time I said, this video is dedicated to people who find the Bible, church, ridiculously boring. Please consider this as a substitute, I guess you could say. Yeah, that's not correct. It makes it sound like, hey, if you find church boring, then you can just come over here, forget about church. No. Well, it really is sad if you really do find your church amazingly boring and bland. Why do you have to sit and listen to this old guy talk from a dusty old book? Yeah, churches are supposed to be like that, and let's not forget about the fun part of it too. I mean, Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine, and, well, I think that we can both agree that wine is a bit more fun than water. Am I allowed to make alcohol jokes on this show, Larry? No? Probably a good thing. Can we let this one slide? Good. Yeah, so a church is supposed to be an interesting, vibrant place where people of the same faith get together to build each other up, as I said a few seconds ago. Okay, so last time I did 1 Samuel chapter 15, so obviously this time I'll be doing 1 Samuel chapter 17. Larry, 17. Thank you. Yeah, I actually did film and everything in chapter 16, but I don't think you want to hear my excuses. Let's just say it's not coming. But in compensation, I will give you a super quick rundown of it in 3, 2, 1, now.
Alright, so Samuel's grieving the loss of Saul as king, and God just like, dude, I've rejected him. Quit with your sulking, I've already chosen another guy. So go over to Bethlehem, to Jesse, and I've chosen one of his sons. See you there. And Samuel's like, wait. Saul will hear about it, and he will kill me, because he enjoys keeping his kingship. And so God said, fine. Take a heifer, and go and do a sacrifice there. And then invite Jesse to the sacrifice. When Samuel gets there, the elders/leaders of the town are like, oh my goodness, you come in peace, because they're scared of you, because you wield swords, chop off a Gag's head, and you happen to hear from the all-powerful and mighty God and do his will. And he says, yep, I'm good, just want to do a sacrifice. So he did that, and Jesse brought his sons, except for David, who was in the fields as a shepherd. Yeah, so he sees Eli, but he's like, oh my goodness, he looks awesome, amazing hair. Obviously, this guy's the king, and God's like, nope. And so then he goes to the second son, and he also looks awesome, and God's like, nope. And then he goes through all of Jesse's 7 sons, and God says no to all of them, and Samuel's like, got any more? And he said, yeah, this David, he's in the fields with his sheep. So then David was brought before Isaiah, and God's like, yep, he's the one. And Isaiah's like, alright, so he anoints him and says he's going to be the king of Israel, causing all 7 of his brothers to be extremely jealous of him. Saul is right now being tormented by a spirit of evilness sent from the Lord to torment him. And so his attendants say, dude, get somebody to play music for you. That'll make it feel better. And he said, alright, good idea. Who do you got? And one of his people said, David's good. David's son of Jesse. And Saul's like, I'll take him. And so he was then put into Saul's service, and whenever Saul's tormented, he would play the music and he would feel better. Because it's harps.
Today, however, we will be talking about something that has been pivotal and quite central to most of the New Testament concerning, you know, Jewish people going to the Promised Land and everything like that. And yeah, it's war. Or to be more precise, the story of David and Goliath. Okay, yeah, before I start, I want to clear something. Nerf war, cute. Real war, not cute. Airsoft, cute. Guns, not cute. However, despite the non-cuteness of war, life ain't cute. And these stories and these wars of the Israelis, also not cute, and also very, very real. But Goliath, this ain't cute. That, however, I think is quite enough. I think we're ready to get into 1 Samuel 17, and so we shall.
Now the Philistines gathered their armies for battle, and Saul and his men of Israel were gathered and encamped in the valley of Elah, and drawn the line of battle against the Philistines. And the Philistines stood on the mountain on one side, and Israelites stood on the mountain on the other side, with the valley between them. And there came out from the camp of the Philistines a champion named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a helmet of bronze on his head, and he was armored with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had bronze armor on his legs, and a javelin of bronze slung between his shoulders. The shaft of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and the spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and his shield-bearer went before him.
To understand this better, think you are the armies of Israel, and now all of a sudden you've learned
they have a cave troll.
And so, yeah, killing this guy is going to be like trying to kill, as you said, a cave troll. Which is going to be very hard unless you are, of course, Gandalf.
He stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why have you came and drawn up for battle? Am I not a Philistine? Are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be servants to us." And the Philistine said, "I defy the ranks of Israel this day. Give me a man, that we may fight together." When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Now David was the son of Jesse, who had 8 sons. In the days of Saul, the man was already old and advanced in years. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had followed Saul into battle, and the names of his 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, and next to him Abinadab, the third Shammah. David was the youngest. The 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went back and forth from Saul to feed the sheep at Bethlehem.
Just to recap, tending sheep is like a 40-year-old at McDonald's behind the grill.
For 40 days the Philistine came forward and took a stand, morning and evening. And Jesse said to David his son, "Take for your brothers an ephah of this parched grain, and these 10 loaves. Carry them quickly to the camp of your brothers. Also, take these 10 cheeses to the commander of their 1,000. By the way, their 1,000 does not mean 1,000, it just means a military unit. See if your brothers are well, and bring me some token of them."
Okay, so we got grain, bread, cheese, see what they're doing. David should be writing this down.
Now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were fighting in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. And David rose early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper, and took the provisions and went, as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the encampment as the host was going out to the battle line, shouting the war cry. And Israel and the Philistines drew up for battle, army against army. David left the things in charge of the keeper of baggage and ran to the ranks and went to greet his brothers. Because you obviously, when your brothers are shouting the war cry and drawing up battle lines, you obviously go and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Yeah. As he talked with them, behold, the champion of Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, came up and out of the ranks of the Philistines and spoke the same words as before, and David heard him. All the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were much afraid.
Your soldiers of Gandalf, no matter what comes through that gate, you will stand your ground.
Yeah, so much for that.
And the men of Israel said, "Have you seen this man who has came up? Surely he has came to defy Israel.
And by Israel, God.
And the king will enrich the man who kills him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel."
Great riches, no more taxes, and an extremely rich wife.
And David said to the men who stood by him, "What shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine, and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?"
Yeah, Israelites don't tend to take kindly to you insulting their God, especially the anointed ones. Especially the anointed ones named David. Yeah, just don't do it.
And the people answered him in the same way, "So it shall be done for the man who kills him." Now Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David. He said, "Why have you come down? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have came down just to see the battle."
Looks to me like somebody's a little bit jealous. Your brother gets the anointing and you don't. I might be jealous too.
And David said, What have I done now? Was it not but a word?
What have I done now? I guess this happens regularly.
He turned away from him toward another, and spoke in the same way, and people answered him again as before. When the words that David spoke were heard, they repeated them before Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with the Philistine. Saul said to David, You are not able to go up against this Philistine and fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he has been a man of war from his youth. But David said to Saul, Your servant used to keep sheep for his father. And when there came a lion or a bear, and took a lamb from the flock, I went after him, and struck him, and delivered it from out of his mouth. And if he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and struck him, and killed him.
Dorothy.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my!
David.
And David said, The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion, from the paw of the bear, will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said to David, Go, and the Lord be with you. Then Saul clothed David with his armor. He put a helmet of bronze on his head, and clothed him in a coat of mail. And David strapped his sword over his armor. And he tried in vain to go, for he had not tested them. Then David said to Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not tested them. So David put them off. He took a staff in his hand, and chose 5 smooth stones from the book, and put them in a shepherd's pouch.
Candle side note, those stones from the river would have been about the size of a golf ball.
His sling was in hand, and he approached the Philistine. And the Philistine moved forward, and came near to David, with his shield-bearer in front of him. And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and handsome in appearance. And the Philistine said to David, Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. The Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field.
Oh yes, all good fights are led up to by a bragging competition, at which apparently David and Goliath have both practiced for.
Then David said to the Philistine, You come to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a javelin. But I come to you in the name of the Lord that hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you down, and cut off your head. And I will give the dead bodies of the host of Philistines this day to the birds of the air, and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know there is a God, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hand. When the Philistine arose and came and drew near to David, David quickly ran towards the battle line to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag, and took out a stone, and slung it, and struck the Philistine on his forehead. The stone sank into his forehead, and he fell face to the ground. So David prevailed over the Philistine with his sling and his stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him.
That was quick, but impressive. Impressively quick.
There was no sword in the hand of David. Then David ran and stood over the Philistine, and took out his sword, and drew it out of its sheath, and killed him, and cut off his head with it. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and Judah rose with a shout, and pursued the Philistines as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron, that the wounded Philistines fell on the way from Sharah as far as Gath and Ekron. And the people of Israel came back from chasing the Philistines. They plundered their camp. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem.
Just like imagine this small youth guy, and he's just carrying this giant's head to Jerusalem. Yeah! Yeah!
But he put his armor in his tent. As soon as Saul saw David go out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, "You're commander of the army, Abner. Whose son is this youth?" And Abner said, "As your soul lives, O king, I do not know." And the king said, "Inquire whose son this boy is." And as soon as David returned from striking down the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, "Whose son are you, young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of your servant, Jesse, the Bethlehemites.
Thank you for watching. Now everybody's happy except maybe the Philistines. And be sure to have a very nice day. Also, remember to check out all the channels and all the websites that are about to come up as soon as I go down. Like this. No, Larry the Nyan Cat is not an appropriate outro.